Hey everyone, it's me, Tafara, coming to you today to talk to you about the third one of the 7 universal principles. And I'm talking about these in my book, A Guide to Manifesting Your Reality, with the 7 universal principles and how I use them to achieve my goals at NASA. It's a long title, I know. So the third principle is the principle of vibration. And it's the idea that everything is always in motion. But another way to look at this is that we attract who we are or what we are. So when people talk about the law of attraction, which is, um, on a lower level version of this, it's a derivative, you would say, from this principle. Um, it's really about like attracting like in a lot of ways. I know that's not, um, it is scientific, but it's a different way of understanding it. It's a similar frequency, right? So you have to be operating on a particular frequency in order to resonate with it. So it's more about vibrational resonance. But let me explain that differently. The way that I really kind of understand it, and there was a conversation in the Bible that takes place in Matthew chapter 12, verse, I believe it's 37, where Jesus is talking to the Pharisees and he's called them a brood of vipers, which is, apropos, I would say. And of course, I think this is one of the points in time where they're picking up stones, but it may not have been, but don't quote me on that. But I know they probably wanted to if they didn't. But anyway, so he's telling them about themselves, and it's, I think in one of the versions it talks about, you know a tree by its fruit. And in this particular scripture, he's saying, let me get it right. By your words, you will be justified, and or by your tongue. I believe it says tongue or words, and depending on what version you're reading, and by your words you will be condemned. But words carry a vibrational frequency, and I talk about this in the book. I believe I mentioned it in this chapter. There's a doctor, Dr. Emoto, who did studies on water, and just merely writing down certain words and attaching it to water that later is frozen, and they look at the ice crystals that are formed, you see clearly the water is reacting to the words. There's no other way to think about it. When you're using the same water and you say one harmful word, to one, set of water, a glass of water, and then something positive to another glass of water, and then you look at the ice crystals and they're totally different formations. The ones, in fact, where you say mean things don't even form crystals hardly, or they form deformed crystals. Whereas if you say something positive or nice to the other water, then it forms these beautiful crystals. Check that out, and I'll have to drop a link, to that. But I digress. So Jesus is basically saying, what you say is actually going to dictate, what comes to you, right? So again, talking about, the importance of our words. Words can, be harmful. And so that's one version of my understanding. The other scripture that comes to mind is, I believe it's Proverbs 18:21, which basically says, we hold the power of death and life in the tongue. So what we say either speaks life or it speaks death. So in essence, what are you creating? What are you trying to create when you speak? So these are the things we should meditate on, because our words, carry a vibrational frequency that absolutely will return something to us that is at a resonant or similar frequency. So if you want positive things, this is why, saying and speaking life, as I say, is so important.